welcome to the Novel Network podcast. I'm Derek. There's Libby Weber. We have the lovely Amy Hutchins on tonight. And, on the Novel Network podcast, we like to talk about what brings a book to life. And tonight we're going to talk more about what brings an audiobook to life.
Yes.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I'm so excited. I actually really think audiobooks are my favorite part of the entire journey.
Right.
100%. My narrator, I cried when I got my book back from my narrator. And I write books now to get them turned into audiobooks. That's my end goal. Well, actually, my end goal is Netflix, but
Yeah.
the end term is, audiobooks are my favorite.
There's just something about when the author finally hears their book in someone's voice that just, I know for mine, as soon as I heard her do her 15-minute, and sent it to me, I went, okay, she is the character of Vivian. And I have to have Isabella Tugman. And it's just that surreal moment where you're going, these are the characters, you try to flesh them out with words, but when you hear that, flesh voice come to life, it's just, I don't know. Maybe that's a weird word picture that I just used, but...
No, it's perfect. It's what I do as an actor. I'm not a writer. I need playwrights and I need authors to be an actor and an audiobook narrator. So no.
So what started first for you then? Acting or voice acting?
Theater acting.
Yeah, okay.
Always. Yeah. Although when I was young, I had a tape recorder, I had a cassette, and I was cast in I was cast in A Christmas Carol, and I was Mrs. Cratchit in 4th grade. And I thought the perfect Christmas gift for all of my family would be if I didn't even know what an audio drama was, but I was like, what if I took this script and I played every single character in this script and then gifted these cassettes to everyone. And my sister was 4 years younger than me. She was I guess if I was in 4th grade, she was in kindergarten, and I had her do tiny little lines here and there. But I basically was it was like a 2-person, A Christmas Carol that I did on cassettes before I even knew books on tape were a thing, before I knew what audiobooks were. But yeah, my in was theater. And yet I guess I was doing some hobbyist voice acting on the side in 4th grade.
It's you knew you were going to be an audiobook narrator one day. You
One
just
day.
knew.
Yeah, it's just something in the ether. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I did not know I loved audiobooks the way I did until I became an author. I used to listen to them, but they were literally just another form of consumption for me. It wasn't until I got with Michael Neebe that I was like, oh, this is absolutely amazing the way these are created. And I'm obsessed. I want to write more books so I can have more audiobooks made.
I used to love it when I was a kid. Do either of you know Robert Munsch?
No.
So he's a children's author in Canada, and he did his own audiobooks. He would write the books first and then did it himself. He did such a great job of bringing stuff to life that as a kid, same kind of thing as you, my mom got me the tape recorder, and I would actually tell either his actual version verbatim off by heart, or I would even make little, changes here and there as I was a little kid, about 4 or 5 years old, because I loved his books when I was a kid. So, yeah.
Awesome.
I love that, there's people like you, like I said earlier before we even started recording. Every time I go into TikTok Live and I see that Amy's live, I hop in, because she has such an incredible voice, and even just having you here, listening to you talk, I know I'm talking way too much right now.
No.
But you have such a beautiful tone to your voice that you know how to truly humanize the characters.
That's really sweet. That means a lot.
But your community that you have around you is fantastic.
I'm so lucky. I don't know how they found me. I started live streaming with 15 people watching, and just slowly people just kind of stayed, and they're like, what's your next book? I'll make sure I tune in that night. And then I kind of went viral in the beginning of 2024 with a book in January of 2024. All of a sudden it went from 20 people to 100 people to 700 people. And I was like, I need a moderator, because somebody said, was like, oh, hey, like a friend who was always watching was like, hey, you need a moderator. Your comments, your chat section was crazy. And I said, well, I'm working. I'm reading a book. I can't look at the chat section at the same time. And he's like, yeah, that's why you need a moderator to make sure you don't get crazy spam comments or trolls. And I just basically was like, I've made a post. And and that's the beginning of this community that I have it's now like Amy's book club. And it's like a little team of people.
And you've got a Discord and everything too, don't you?
Yeah, it's a little book club on Discord. But anytime I go live, I've got TikTok moderators who I've now become friends with, who have my back, and they encourage a positive community. They get rid of trolls as quickly as possible. Or even things just like, are you married? Or, oh, you're so beautiful. Like comments that just aren't necessary when you're listening to a book. They're so good. I
apologize for men.
No, there are trolls of all genders and ages, and but they help it be such a positive community. And I love going live. I love telling stories, and I love, especially when I'm granted permission to go live with my working sessions. I'm actually telling a story to people. Yes. As opposed to imagining that I'm telling a story to people when I'm not granted permission to live stream. So I have to imagine, I'm telling a story to my best friend, but when I'm live streaming, my camera is so close to me. I just imagine like I'm telling my friend Kristen right now this story, or Derek, I'm telling you this story. So it's, I don't have to imagine I'm telling a story to someone. I'm actually as I'm live streaming my working recording sessions, I'm actually telling a story to people.
Does that make it easier or harder when you're doing it live?
I think it depends on the book and my headspace in that day. So when I was doing a pirate romantasy that I just loved, I was granted permission to do all 5 books. I could live stream all of them. It's with Podium. They always let me live stream. First person POV, British accent, modern RP. And I'm American. I have a standard American accent, but I'm really good at doing a first person, a British accent, a standard, not an old timey RP, but like a modern RP accent. So I was a little in my head about that as people started commenting, because we do this little thing on water breaks. Where are you tuning in from? And people would say, I'm in the UK. I'm in the UK. And so I realized all these people were watching me do their accent. And I got a little in my head. So sometimes you can get a little in your head, but then I just remember if they didn't like what I was doing, they wouldn't be watching and commenting. Like, they're supporting me. It's a supportive environment. They want to see you make mistakes and start over again. They want to see the behind the scenes process. If they wanted the perfect audiobook, they would just wait for it to come out. So
and you've had it happen before too, like you say about for the British accent. As soon as you go back into your American, do people go, wait, she's not British?
Yes. Yes, that happened like all the time. They're like, wait, what? That's not your real accent? And it kind of trips some people out.
Are you catfishing me right now?
I know. But hey, I had an audition. They heard, the casting people heard my accent, and I've done it a zillion times in so many plays. I've had dialect coaches for years to do different UK accents, all kinds of accents. So that's when I felt very confident doing. Because I can't mark up my script the way I do in a play. I'll mark up every line, all the phonetics. But in a book,
you don't print out the entire PDF? What are you talking about?
Right. I mean, I read it and I prep it, but I can't phonetically translate the whole thing.
This is too much.
Yeah. So because I highlight lines and I highlight words, but I can't mark every single like demand, glance, every ask word. I just have to remember it and trust my brain that when I come across one of those words, I will say it correctly, or I'll catch it if I don't. So.
And then do you research like different parts of Britain or England?
Oh, absolutely. Like I've done like West Country accents. I've done like Scottish, Welsh. My Northern accent I'm working on. I haven't yet been asked to do it.
How's your Canadian?
Canadian? Not great. I feel like I'm really stereotypical. I'm like,
we'll talk.
Oh, no, I'm like, honestly, I don't hear much.
That's very stereotypical.
Accent. That's what I'm
Canadian.
saying. I'm kidding. I don't actually say no, if I'm asked to be Canadian, I don't know. I haven't been asked to be Canadian, but I feel like if I were to approach it, I'd be very similar to standard American.
It's pretty close.
It's
Yeah.
really close. There's just a few vowels here and there. And words that we pronounce differently.
Yeah. I don't even say a boot. I say about.
Well, yeah, of course you say about.
It's
of
so
course.
slight though, right?
Yeah, like there might be a slight tightening of a vowel or something, but it's so similar. But I feel like some words, the stress is on a different syllable. So it would be, if I were to do it, I'd have to research those words to make sure I got them right, that I didn't, tick off Canadian listeners or readers. Because that's the biggest thing, is I don't want to offend people who are from that country when I'm doing their accent.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
My narrator is Canadian. So,
Oh,
yeah.
very cool.
And I did not
Yeah.
know that when I first heard him, I was like, oh, this is perfect. And he's like, yeah, I'm Canadian. I have to just go through and double check some of the words. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know.
And then we
Yeah.
found out it was a very small world, that he lives like 10 minutes away from me.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
so cool. That's so cool. I
Yeah,
love
we just
that.
posted his episode, last Friday?
I think so.
Yeah, and just talking to him, it was like, man, you've been to the store that I work at, that my parents own.
Oh my gosh.
Such a small world.
I just realized my phone notifications were on. Sorry. I just
Didn't hear a thing.
turned my phone off. Apologies.
It's okay.
No, you're good.
I'm using like a little light that I use on my phone mount. So anyway, long story. I have a whole setup for live streaming here.
It's all good. Yeah, you're right in your booth right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I live in New York City, in the heart of Manhattan, like a couple of blocks from Times Square. So
Lots.
this soundproof booth is like my favorite place in the world. It's just quiet. If I need to have a quiet phone call, I'm in my booth. Obviously, recording books, I'm in my booth, but it's perfect for Zoom and these kind of things.
Love
I
it.
love that.
So what made you realize you wanted to get into voice acting and audiobooks specifically?
I was literally going to ask that.
Were you?
That's a
We're
great
insane.
question. I have always had a really great ear. I've always been a musician and a singer. My mom says I sang before I spoke. I could carry a tune as like a baby. And my mom's a speech pathologist, so she was always kind of blown away with like how attuned I was to auditory things and how I could mimic them from a very young age. So, in fact, when I had a lisp, she was able to cure me. Not cure me. She's a speech language pathologist for very difficult cases. But I had a little lisp as a kid, and she said to me, she's like, Amy, I worked with you like 3 times and you got rid of it. She
Really?
was like,
wow.
Nobody does that.
You mean like the little kid baby lisp kind of thing?
With my S's. My S's are quite S'ing. And so she like...
Usually it's like the R's and stuff.
Yep. Yeah,
For
that
little
can be a
kids,
thing
right?
too. My R's were there, but my S's were a little THE.
Okay.
And anyway, so I've just always been very attuned to that. And I can mimic really well. And so, okay, theater acting happened.
Mhm.
Went to school to be a theater actor. I've been doing plays my whole adult life. I was cast several times, and I had this director, Michelle Tattenbaum, and she was a theater director who started to do an audio drama. She started working with GZM shows, Gen Z Media. And this was back in 2017, and she was casting the mom in a show called 6 Minutes, an audio drama podcast for tweens. It has like over 20 million downloads. And she was like, Amy, I know this isn't theater, but would you be interested? Are you interested in playing a character in an audio drama, playing this like really cool mom? And I was like, sure, I'm down for that. And she's like, okay, well, go to this, we meet in a studio, we record all together with all these little kids. They were like Broadway kids. And I was like their mom. It was really fun. And we did over 300 episodes. And every time I went in there, the engineers and producers and everybody was like, this is your first time doing voiceover? Like, you sound great. Like, you rarely ever make mistakes. You've got a great voice. Your acting is like 100%. Like, you need to do more of this. And at the same time, again, doing theater, and a friend of mine, he's an artistic director at a theater, and he asked me to be a reader for some auditions, meaning the reader is the person who has all the different sides, and you read with anyone who comes in the door, because they're casting the whole play. I think it was like Peter and the Starcatcher. And and I also did Mary Poppins. Right. So
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
did you play Mary Poppins?
No, I meant like I was the reader while they were casting Mary
Right.
Poppins and Peter and the Starcatcher. Because, I live in New York City. They were holding auditions in New York City. And it's a great way to learn as an actor and just, to see how people audition. It's nice to be on the other side sometimes. And he said to me, Amy, did you know are you aware that every character that you're voicing in this script, you're giving a different voice and accent? I was like, yeah, I'm kind of having fun with it. He's like, it's amazing. Do you do audiobooks? And I was like, no. And he was like, you should really look into doing audiobooks because you're giving every single character in this play a different voice, placement, accent, attitude. Like, and so that happened like around the same time. And my friend Lori Prince, who's an audiobook narrator, she's a theater actor and audiobook narrator. And she said to me, Amy, make money in between your theater jobs by doing audiobooks. She's like, it's been great. I qualify for SAG-AFTRA, health insurance now. I still do theater, but I'm also doing audiobooks. Like, and I was like, but how? And she was like, go to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's voiceover lab, which is in New York City. I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA and Actors Equity. And she's like, go and take classes at the voiceover lab and learn what equipment you need, how to hook it up, technique, how to edit, how to punch and roll, how to record yourself. Yeah, she's like, go and learn. So I did in 2019. I took classes all year while I was also going away and doing theater gigs. And it just happened that I had all of my gear Christmas 2019. Yeah. So the timing was perfect. I didn't know this. Christmas 2019 in New York City, my husband gifted me a closet, which was a big deal, an empty closet to put a booth in.
Did he put a bow on the door or something?
Well, the fact that we emptied it out and he like gifted it to me, and then he got me like headphones and a microphone, and then I bought an interface, and so we set it up, didn't do anything with it until March of 2020. My husband's a theater actor and I'm a theater actor. We lost all of our theater jobs, all of them. Mm-hmm. Everything that we had worked so hard to audition for, gone. Because it was because of the pandemic. The theaters were shut down, and they were shut down for a long time. Really, like we were the last to reopen. So I thought, well, I've got this closet and I've got this gear and I took these classes. Time to learn how to do it. And that's when I started just taking so many tutorials on how to use Reaper, my DAW, my digital audio workstation, to record myself, and how to really take it seriously, how to actually do this and audition and record myself. And that was, I know that was a really long story.
No,
that's a perfect story. I love it.
But that's how I found, and my very first book, I loved it. I loved the whole thing. I loved the whole experience, and I knew I wanted to do more of it. Whereas
so what was your first book?
I'm not saying.
Okay.
But
that's fair.
It was recorded in a closet, and it's not the best. My neighbors, even though it was quiet in New York City during that time, my neighbors, it was still too loud. Like to be in a closet, you can sound treat it, but you can't sound proof a closet unless it's your own closet and you can build things, right? I rent. I'm in New York City. So my second book, we bought a Studio Bricks booth, this double-walled, sound-proofed and sound-treated booth. And then recording was so much easier. My second book was The Immortal City by Amy Quivalinen, a fantasy romance set in Venice with like sexy magicians and an Australian archaeologist main character. And I was like hooked.
Wait, so you had to bounce between Italian and Australian for a book?
Oh yeah, with American standard American third person narration, but the main characters, yeah, it was really fun. It was so much fun, and some people I think would go crazy, but I had a blast.
I love that, how things just kind of happen the way they need to happen, even if they're like, this is terrible, and then you're like, oh, but look at everything that we did. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Exactly. I mean, I learned a lot with the very first book. It took me forever to record, but even with all of the struggles and learning, I still enjoyed it and knew I needed to do this. Mm-hmm. And I needed to do it better in a better setup.
So like do you still bounce between doing theater and doing audiobooks, or?
Yeah, I do. Last year I did 2 plays. One, I guess I was commuting. My husband and I were in the Book of Will at the Shakespeare Theater of New Jersey. It's still like an hour away from where I live, but we were commuting to a very pretty part of New Jersey called Madison, New Jersey, doing a play called The Book of Will. And then we went to right on the border. The theater's right over the border in Vermont, and the housing was in New Hampshire. And we did the Thanksgiving play together as well up there. I also do plays without my husband, but it just happened last year that both of them were with him. But yeah, so I do theater as well.
I do. So I am originally from Connecticut.
Oh,
and we were 45 minutes from the city, and I miss the theater culture of New England because we lived in North Carolina and there was not like we lived on the coast and there was like nothing, and now we're in
I mean, you have
Okinawa.
the Outer Bank. What's it called? The Lost Colony. In the Outer Banks, like that's like a pageant outdoor show. I
Yeah, and
know
it's
it's
like
like a
3 hours.
non-union.
That was like 3 hours from us,
Jeez.
and
Oh, okay, yeah,
yeah, we were on the like in the middle of nowhere.
yeah.
And now I'm in Okinawa, and I'm like, there is no theater for me at
I saw
all.
some theater in Tokyo. I saw some fun. Uh, oh, what was it? It was like kabuki style. It was old
Oh,
school, really old school
yes,
verse. Fascinating. I mean,
yes,
but yeah, it's not the same thing. Not the same thing. I mean,
no,
well, my husband did Warhorse, the national tour, and it ended in Japan. So they do sometimes bring Broadway plays
to
and
mainland. Yeah,
right,
we're
like
like a tiny little island.
I know
But,
Okinawa is nowhere near Tokyo.
no, it's like a 2.5 hour flight. It's not bad. We can make a weekend of it,
But you
but
could see some things that are,
some things
in English with an American company or something
that would
like
be
that.
nice.
Yeah,
But I miss it because we're like, let's just go to the city this weekend and go see what's on Broadway. Like
I know. Just stroll
they
up
were
to
I
the
have never been to
TKTS
New
booth.
York. I need to get to New York at some point. I really do. And if I'm there, can I like call you?
Yes.
Okay,
Call
cool.
me. I'm like 3 blocks from Times Square. I live
Sweet.
in the theater district.
Oh, that's awesome.
Actually,
Would you
my
be like a tour
housing.
guide?
I've never. I mean, I could. But my housing is actually affordable housing for performing artists.
Oh, perfect.
We lucked out. We were on the waiting list for like 6 years, and we would not, I don't think we would have survived the pandemic paying New York rent with both of us out of work with no theater jobs. Because it took a while to start making money from audiobooks the very slow way that I started doing it,
You got to start
Be-
somewhere, though, right?
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you learn by doing. And if I could do it again, I would do some things maybe differently, but I got to where I am. So that's,
Yeah.
still
So
learning.
I'm curious too, in the way you kind of told your process of how things went. How did it feel when everybody was just like validating you so quickly? Like you said, it was almost like effortless, and everyone's saying like, "You've never done this before."
Yeah, it was a really good feeling, of like you're in the right place doing the right thing. And it's continued, like for example, TikTok. The only reason I joined TikTok was because I went to the audiobook what is it called? The Audio Publisher Association's conference, APAC. So you've got the Audio Publishers Association, and they have a conference. I went there, 2023. It was in New York in person, and there was a panel about social media and audiobooks. And on it were all these people who did TikTok narration live when they were granted permission, and they all said that they were booked for like the next year. And I was like, oh, I hate social media. I don't have TikTok, but I like money and I would like to be
Yeah.
booked out through the next year. So, oh, I did it. I was like, well, that was my takeaway. And there was this other woman, a grande dame. She has so many accolades. And she said, I'm flying back to London and I hate social media and I have no books to come back to. And I was like, oh, okay. So my takeaway was if I wanted to get work quickly, I needed to be on TikTok. And I just kind of made videos. I had no idea what I was doing. I friended people, and I started live streaming. I was very nervous. But then everybody was so accepting and so nice. And
They're
instantly,
so nice.
people were like, oh, I have a romanticy and I've been looking for your voice. They would say this to me like on the live stream, or I'd get an email. They found me through my website and they'd be like, oh, I just saw you on TikTok. Just wanted to send you an email to see what your rates are and your availability. And every time I went live, I would get a book or two.
That's
And
awesome.
that's just
The
ones.
live is your audition, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just been, I thought TikTok and social media was going to be a land of trolls where no one liked me and I had to be really careful.
It's far and few between.
But it's honestly, it's really nice. People are accepting. They like me. They ask me questions. I like them. I've met so many cool authors, and yeah. Sorry, I can't even remember the original question. Oh, what was it like to have people respond to you? It's been amazing. My very first cold reach out to Podium, I tried to warm up the email reach out to this casting director because I'd heard her an interview on Clubhouse with her. And so I mentioned something about her theater background and my theater background. And I talked about accents and, but it was a cold reach out. And she said, "Oh, great. You do accents. I'm going to keep you in mind." The next week, she sent me an audition. I booked it. I booked the very first audition with this company. And now I was nominated for an Audie Award and I was representing
That's
Podium.
awesome.
And Kai Detoli, who is the person who was the first person to give me a book through a publisher, she was the casting person. She's also the casting person for the book that I was nominated for. So I didn't expect this soon to be nominated for an award ever, so it's been really nice. And it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right track. Keep going. Keep learning, keep going.
You know what I appreciate about you too is like if anyone who's watching or listening, if you go to her TikTok profile, she will still post videos of you making mistakes. Or like I love the one where I think it's pinned closer to the top, but you're getting emotional as you're reading and you're taking all these different takes, but you're okay showing that on live or even just posting it for the world to see afterward, Well, I love that so much.
I think that's why you need performers and actors to be audiobook narrators, humans, because if you wanted a passionless read, obviously a computer can do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
But what it can't do is it can't feel like pain and emotion and real raw feelings. And as an actor, it's your job, whether you're on stage or on film or on TV or recording an audiobook, voice acting, your job is to bring that vulnerability and humanity to the role that you're playing. And I refuse to just focus on how I sound. If I'm thinking about how I sound, I'm not thinking about what my character wants and needs and feels. And so
Right.
I'm okay with showing mess ups.
You're committing to the roles.
Yeah, that's the whole point. The whole point is acting and storytelling. And if you want someone who just sounds sexy or appealing, I'm not interested in that. I can play characters who are described as having sultry voices and I have a lot of fun with it. But I want to tell stories and I want to engage and I want to bring not so much emotion that people go, whoa. I mean, I never want, I always want to bring the listener in.
But there can be over-the-top performances, right? But you want it to be genuine.
I want it to be genuine, the right tone, but genuine. So, yeah. And as a theater actor, of course, I can fill up a 1,500 person space and I can articulate with no microphone and have people understand me as I do Shakespeare. I've done it. I do it. Great. I'm not going to bring that to the microphone.
Yeah,
right?
It's a totally different skill set.
It's I mean, accessing my emotions, pretending I'm in the situation, totally the same, but the intimacy, that is different. It's like you would do for film acting. So I don't do what I do on stage when I have a film or TV audition. You have to tone it down for the camera. You have to do the exact same thing for the microphone.
Yes,
you have
that makes sense.
Or you'll blow out somebody's earbuds, or you make them pull away, and you don't want them ever to pull away. You want them to lean in and not want to stop listening. You want them to be like in the driveway, knowing that they're home and they have to unload the groceries, but they just have to hear the end of the chapter. Like that's what you want.
Whereas if it's one of my superhero books, I want the kabooms and the
yeah. I mean, there's dynamics. It's a dynamic journey. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I do like having those outtakes of the emotions to show that it is acting. It's voice acting. It's not just voice. AI can do voice, but it can't do acting. And right now, my competitor is AI.
Mm-hmm.
And AI has nothing on me and humans when it comes to vulnerability and emotions.
No. So what's the worst book that made you cry while trying to narrate it?
Man.
Because I've seen you get emotional a couple of times.
Yeah, man. When a character dies, especially a character that I have been with for a while, or it's a character that is a loved one of the main character, those rip me apart. Oh my gosh. Or if a pet dies, for me, those are the triggers. I get really emotional. In fact, I just did a book, a nonfiction about but I can't talk about it too much, but because it hasn't been announced yet.
No spoilers.
But
No spoilers.
I can say that in the book, for years she had this cat. The cat was like a main character. It's a nonfiction, but like her companion. She lived alone. Her cat was like her companion. And this book is the 20-year anniversary of when she first wrote that memoir. And she talks about that cat at the very end. Obviously, the cat is no longer still with us, and she has other cats. I got so choked up talking about this cat. And I was like, I know that's not the point of this. The point is not that she's mourning her cat. Amy, get a grip. But I had spent 12 hours with this woman and her cat, and it was really painful to like.
So funny.
Those things rip me apart. Deaths of character, beloved characters, human or not, rip me apart. But I think that's okay because
definitely.
I mean, listeners, I think, get ripped apart. But the hardest thing is when you're doing it in third person narration, you can't cry. When you're doing it in first person narration, you can cry because you are the character experiencing it. You can be as sad as you want to be. In dialogue, you cry. And in the narration, first person, you can cry. When you're doing third person narration, the dialogue can cry. That third person narrator can be sad, obviously, because, it's very close to the character, but can't be sobbing. Like the character can sob, the third person narrator can't sob. That's the hardest. That's what takes me the longest. Sobbing in the dialogue because, oh my gosh, it's so sad. And of course, that's all the person can do is sob. But turning it off. Yes. And trying to sound like a normal...
Did you have to pause more?
Oh.
And just kind of compose yourself and then like do
Absolutely. I have to pause more. I've got to stop. Because it's punch and roll. So you can stop it, move the cursor to where you want it to restart. And I have to, because, you can't tell once your sinuses start going. Once those tears.
That too, yeah.
I'm not a robot. So I find what helps me is to like do some lip trills, like, because that, when you're choked up, your throat really constricts. Everything constricts. So that kind of loosens it up. And I like have to like roll out my shoulders. It's kind of like releasing it.
You're tensing up, right?
Yeah, because you really are. Because you're crying and sobbing. And so you have to somehow release it. So you'll see on a TikTok live when I start to get really emotional, I'll pause. I'll do a little lip trill. I'll probably shake out my shoulders and then jump back into it. Just to try to get my voice under control and to remind my body it's not really happening.
The outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I love it.
But I mean, I'll cry on stage, and keep going. But that's okay because I'm the character and my character can cry on stage. Yeah. What's weird is in the audiobook realm, you're playing different characters. One character might be sobbing their eyes out. The next character is like, why are you crying? Like, what is wrong with you? And then you've got the narrator voice. So, you've got like this split personality where one of the characters is sobbing. But yeah, so it's a really tricky thing that on stage, unless I'm doing like a one-person show, I don't think that's going to happen.
But you've done a one-person show.
I have not.
You haven't?
No,
okay.
Not yet. No, I have not done. No, that would be terrifying.
It's definitely a big talent. I don't have. Everyone's like, why don't you just narrate your books? I'm like, I write them. No, thank you.
It's fun,
I don't have that skill. And I know I don't have that skill, and to do it justice, I'm not going to cut corners.
I mean, you can always play around and see, you don't have to have an acting background to, sometimes it's just that imaginative ability. And that's what acting is. It's imagining you're in those circumstances and seeing what comes up when you feel those things and allowing your voice and, to go there.
Yeah. I find
if I'm stick to writing and then we'll hire you guys to do the acting.
See, I find if I've written a scene that's especially sad, I speak it out loud.
Well, I do that.
And my wife is usually there and I'm reading it back to her. There are times when I'm reading it back and I get so choked up.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
That, I mean, writing itself is cathartic. But even just reading it aloud,
it's different.
Is even almost more cathartic.
Yes, it's more
like
vulnerable.
You've already poured yourself into this, and now you're like you say, vulnerable. That's exactly it.
Because you're claiming it. Like, oh man, like when my husband and I got married, I was always the person who was like, why do people cry at weddings? Like, why? What? They know they've got their vows.
I
Like, why are
sobbed
they
at
crying?
mine as my wife was coming down the aisle. I sobbed.
Oh yeah. So then I finally get married because I was very late. My husband and I were very late at getting married, and so I finally get married. And when we had to do our vows, he and I were blubbering. I mean,
Really?
we were crying. We were crying through our vows. It was
that
so
recorded? I'd love to see that.
I think you just like to see people cry, Derek. I think that's
I do. Honestly, it makes me realize they're human.
Yes. Yeah, and I then realized because you're saying these words out loud. It's like what you were saying, like an emotional scene. Saying it out loud is even different than just reading it in your head. Yeah, there's a vulnerability and like an ownership when you say it out loud. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree.
No, it's I've had people say to me, you should do your own audiobooks. And I'm going, like, I would love to do my superhero series. I really would. I would just have to work on my Russian accent.
Okay, that's doable.
I mean,
it could be light. We could do a very, very light Russian accent. Just very light. Just like make the L's a little heavier. Just like drop that, like, L's are a little heavier. Yeah, back in the throat, easy.
So I just saw this on Jimmy Fallon where he had Fred Armisen on.
Oh, I love him.
And he started feeding him different accents. Could we do that with you?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Like, see how fast you can switch.
Sure. Okay. It might be terrible. Let's give it a go. See what happens. Why not?
I'll start with some easy ones that I think I've heard you do before.
Okay.
So we'll start with posh British.
All right. So if I'm being very posh, I'll ask for like a glass of water. I'll say the tea and water. A very posh accent. Like something you see like on the BBC. I'm really laying it on. It's like I've got a plum in my mouth.
Spanish.
Spanish. If I'm going to speak a Spanish, I would say things like 300 zapatos. Barcelona, por supuesto. So if I were to speak a very heavy Spanish accent, I love it.
Now switch to Mexican Spanish.
Mexican is a little different. It's kind of like, hey, there's like a relaxed kind of, everything's good, everything's okay, man. It's like, you got a little bit of nasality and the vowels are similar, but there's this kind of, the melody is a little different and you're a little more relaxed when you're doing a Mexican accent. Which one? Ukrainian is very, very similar to Russian. If I were to do a Ukrainian accent, I would be it's almost imperceptible to what I would do as a Russian accent. I would tap my R's a bit. It also depends on how fluent I am in English. Some people have very slight Ukrainian accents, and some people have heavier Ukrainian accents. But
South African.
Oh, nope, pass.
No? Okay, no worries.
I haven't had to do one yet, and I have a friend who's South African, so I know who to go to, my friend Antoinette. She listens to all of my lives, but if I haven't had to do South African yet.
How about a Caribbean accent?
Which one?
Caribbean.
Well, Caribbean.
That's pretty broad, though. Like Jamaican?
Jamaican. If I were to do a Jamaican accent, I haven't been asked to do one. My friend Erica's from Jamaica, and she says like bacon. She says to say bacon is like beer can in Australian. Yeah. So like beer can or bacon that's Australian. But anyway, no, Caribbean's very tricky. I also don't want to offend people, but like, Jamaican accent, I would have to work on it a bit. I'd have to work on it a bit.
See, when I'm on vacation, wherever I am, like when I was in Italy last May, I'm the kind of person that the longer I'm in a different country, I start to speak with a bit of the accent.
Yes.
Whether I offend them or not, I don't know, but I'll be like, I'll have the spaghetti pomodoro. Buongiorno, come sta?
It's so true.
Or it was like trying to explain to people that my wife can't have dairy. I would always have to say like, my wife, she can't have, whatever. And then I feel bad after as I walk away.
I would say like, io non posso mangiare, what was it? Productos lácteos, because I have a milk allergy. And I would have to say, sono allergica
no uovo, because she can't have eggs.
You couldn't have eggs. Yeah, no uovo.
She could.
Yeah. Oh, she could, right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like latte. I'm trying to make milk. I learned words for like milk.
I did too. I learned it and it's gone now. But
yeah, it's so funny the things we learn. I learned it in Japanese too when I went to Tokyo, and I can't remember that now at all.
I can't tell you. The Japanese are weird, especially in Okinawa, because there's a lot of Americans here. So there's a lot has been like Americanized, not a ton, but like language wise. And so like I'm trying to learn Japanese, and they're like they just like Japanese-fy the English words, and I'm like when
Or
they
you know what
talk
I
about
love is when there's someone
Miruku?
in a different country or a different language and they're
milku,
speaking
yeah,
their language, and then all of a sudden like an English word just pops out. You're like,
Oh yeah,
wait,
yeah,
whoa.
chizu. That happened in Japan. Like yeah,
chizu,
miruku, chizu.
hamburger,
Which one?
hamburger,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
hamburger.
Yes, 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 yes. I just remember saying like, sumimasen, eigo ga wakarimasu ka? Which was like, excuse me, do you understand English?
Yeah,
And then they'd be like, skoshi. And I'd be like,
Yeah.
okay. And I would give it a try. Like,
yeah.
with English.
Deja vu.
Nice.
Yeah. See? You got it.
I learned like 5 things, but like conversations are like literally they just say okay, 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 and deja vu is like okay, but like yes, deja vu, deja vu. Like that's really all I need to know. Like I don't need
That's
to know
fantastic.
I have no idea what you're
much
saying.
more than that. Like, and then sumimasen.
Sumimasen.
All
Yeah,
day,
that all the time.
all day.
Apologize forever.
Arigato,
Yeah.
arigato. Please, thank you, and okay, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. So cool.
And for those who don't know, Amy recently told me as I was watching Ugly Betty that she was a background actor in one of the scenes that Adele was on set for. And I was like, what?
That was so
That's
much fun.
cool.
I had fun doing background work years ago. I had like a temp job and any excuse to not have to go to the temp job. And they loved the fact that I was an actor. So I would sometimes apply to do background work, even though I was doing temping. But because it was for a TV show, they were like, oh, it's fine. You can go away for a day, And so I frequently, I worked several times for Ugly Betty.
Really?
But yeah, there was that one episode with the wedding and Adele was there
Yeah.
and she was like standing there waiting to make her entrance. And she was so nervous because she had just become a huge star. I think it was like one of her first TV appearances with like dialogue. And after every take, she would reset and she'd stand next to me because that's where she started. And she would be like, how was that? Is that okay? And I'm like, you're amazing. Are you kidding? And then, yeah. And then she would do and then she had like a concert and we just had like a big dance party. I mean, while they filmed, it was work, but like,
yeah, right. You still had fun. Yeah.
Oh, it was such a fun set. That was such a fun set. Yeah.
It was so funny how I found out because we were chatting on Facebook and I told her that we've been watching Ugly Betty and she's like, or you saw my post because I said
Yeah.
I cried like a baby.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I did some work on Ugly Betty. I'm going, wait, really? She goes, yeah, I was on this episode with Adele. I'm like, I just watched that episode. So I had to go back and I took a picture of like the dance floor and sent it to her. And I'm like, can you pick out where you are here? And sure enough, she sent it back to me, circled herself with an arrow, a couple arrows.
Yep.
Like, this is so cool.
It was so much fun. Yeah, no, I had fun on set. And also it just meant that so whenever I did have to be on set with lines, I wasn't nervous because I'd had experience on set doing background work and doing stand-in work that you're then not so nervous when you're the one that the camera's on with lines.
Because you're more comfortable in the setting already.
Right. As opposed to never having been on set and suddenly you've got lines and
I got pulled into doing a indie movie. It never came out.
Okay.
But I did. Yeah. So we had somebody who wanted to come in. My friend Janique, she's an actress, and she's like, they were in the Jacksonville area, North Carolina, and they were looking for like fight scenes and stunt coordinators. And I am a martial artist, and so we're like, yeah, come on in. And I was just supposed to like help them. Like I was like their opposite for this like scene for like a pilot. And I was like, yeah, we can do it. It was a lot of fun. Like we trained her and they're like, hey, she's like, we're going to do a movie. Do you want to be in the movie with me? And I was like, sure. And I ended up like filming this whole horror indie movie and doing stunt work. It was
horror. Okay.
So much fun.
Right.
And then it never came through. Like it died in like post-production and stuff. But
there's probably copies out there somewhere.
It was.
Just be like,
I have an IMDb credit on. Like,
do you really?
Yeah,
oh,
I do.
That's so cool.
So
that's awesome. That's so much fun.
It is. It was a lot of fun, and I was like, I think I would love to do stunt work, but like, I have little kids at the time, and like it's not in the cards for me to do stunt work. But
what happened to mom?
Yeah. Well, and my husband's a Marine, so like he's like it wasn't like if I got a gig and he had to go, like there was no one to watch the kids, so I like his job trumped my things. But he's super supportive of all of my writing, so
That's amazing. When did you start writing?
Oh, I've been writing like my whole life. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Or publishing? When did you start publishing?
I started publishing 5 years ago.
Was it fun?
The series that I'm working on now, I finished it like 15 years ago, but book 1 took me 10 years to like get to where I wanted it.
That's amazing.
Between like being a mom and going to school and becoming a jiu-jitsu instructor and being a military spouse. Like we moved to and from Japan twice. Like, but
that's amazing. Derek, when did you start writing?
Kind of the same. Been writing since I was little, but I officially published back in 2017. And that was my first superhero book.
Amazing.
The one that I would, if I had the opportunity and trained myself, I would totally love to narrate.
You should do it.
Yeah, I honestly, like, it's got the whole, like I said, kabooms and the onomatopoeias that I would just lay into.
Oh, yeah.
There's even scenes in those books that I sobbed reading it back to my wife. Just of, like, there's a couple of the main characters of Devin and Brett, and they've lost someone really close to them that was kind of like their trainer in a way, but also was always kind of the encouraging person for them. And in a scene in the last book, they see a video of this character that's left like a last message for them. Oh. And it's two men watching this other guy, and as they're watching it, they're getting emotional, and they end up just like hugging each other. Like, you don't see that in a lot of entertainment, and that's something I've always been very wanting to put more light on, that it's okay for a man to be emotional in front of another man.
Yes. It's like the detoxifying of
totally.
masculinity. It's
like,
we need that.
I always tell people I don't wear my heart on my sleeve. It's on my whole suit. So it's
I love that.
It's something I know I'm like that. And if I'm sad, I need to watch a sad movie just to get it out.
Yes.
That's
same.
just me.
Same. I recommend that to people all the time. They're like, oh, I'm just so sad. I'm like, oh, if you need a good cry, like you need to like read a really sad book or watch a really sad movie. Yeah. And they're like, what? I'm like, no, for real. Like, sob it out.
Yeah, I put music on and I just sob to like sad songs. I have a playlist that's specifically like Libby's sad songs. And when I need to cry, I just go to that playlist.
That's amazing.
I have it also for when I write sad scenes. So I can trigger those emotions. So when I'm writing,
use that. I should use that for like when I have to like go on stage crying, because sometimes that's really hard at the top of a scene. Mm-hmm. You have to enter on stage sobbing, so you have to get to that point, but you have no stimulus because it's the top of the scene. Oh, that's really cool.
I have like trigger songs that I'm like, as soon as I hear that, it backfires though sometimes, because then I'll be like in the car, I'm like Spotify on shuffle, and I'm like. And I'm like, I was like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I wrote 3 death scenes to this song.
Miracle. That's great.
That was me back in 2023 though, because like that was my creative burnout year, and there were certain songs
you talked about
that I just knew. I almost did.
I know you did.
Right?
There were certain songs that, like, I love Ben Rector. I love Cody Fry. Ben Rector has this one song called Sailboat, and literally it starts off by going, I feel just like a sailboat, don't know where I'm headed, but you can't make the wind blow from a sailboat. And on my way to work, I would be blaring this and just crying on my way to work, because it's just one of those release songs.
Yes.
And then you show up to work and you're like, okay, I gotta sell olive oil and balsamic now. But you need that. And I just say, I feel like guys just need to feel more okay with not being okay.
I agree.
And that goes for anyone, really.
I agree 100%. And this whole idea of like this alpha macho man, I mean, I guess I'm doing a lot of romance books, but it would really, and I think honestly, some of the best scenes are the ones where they do reveal vulnerability.
Their soft side. Not all of, because some of my characters are dicks, but my loved characters, they're emotional. My men cry. They're open. They're like, they're openly loving and openly vulnerable with each other in their small groups. I mean, they're all assassins, but like,
I love it.
With feelings.
They're badass, but they have feelings, and that's what you need. That's what you need.
It's a good balance. It also like triggers all of their like anger and stuff when bad things happen, but then they all cry about things, and it's so sweet.
I did that with my new book, where there's like the tough guy character, and yeah, I kind of did like the grumpy and then happy wild card kind of character together. And they do share a hotel room, but there's no like one bed trope or anything
I was
like
gonna say,
that.
is there only one bed?
No, I write for kids. I write for kids. So, um, but it's like he's this tough guy. Like he literally takes down a dinosaur by grabbing onto. It's like a Triceratops type dinosaur, and he has to jam basically to put it to sleep.
Okay.
And he has to jam that into its neck, and it's like running and flailing, and he literally has to do that because he's done it before. And then you come to find out after he meets the wild card character who's like happy and always spouting pop culture references, she wakes up one morning and he's crocheting. And she's like, oh, wait, what are you doing right now? He's like, crocheting. My therapist said it helps to, just get through some hard stuff. And he goes, plus, I think crochet needles could work as a weapon at some point. Which I knew, Livy, you were going to be like, it's probably like a weapon.
Yeah. Definitely a weapon.
Oh, man, it's like I now need some kind of like vampire slayer dynamic, but the vampire knits. Like yes. I feel like I need that in my life. Like where is that?
But it's like there's a show that I love called Chuck, and John Casey is a character in that show, and he's like the NSA tough guy. And then there's an episode where they need someone to do a high C like note to open a sound box, and out of everybody in the room, he's the one that goes. And it opens, and everyone just looks at him. He goes, "What? I wasn't hatched." I needed that kind of scene for my guy.
Yeah. That's so much fun.
Those are the best.
And actually, like that's kind of like the most fun thing about audiobooks is like getting to play all of the characters, including, you know what I mean? Like it's not just like the main, like first person POV. I'm only concerned about my own character. No, I'm like playing like all of the characters in the whole world, and it's also why it's so important, I think, to not just do like one genre, but to do like cozy mystery, to do, you know what I mean? Like wholesome romance, spicy romance, do suspense, do, oh my gosh, I'm doing a thriller, but it's told from the point of view of the bad guy. Like she's the antagonist. I started reading it and I was like, I don't like her. Oh, she's doing really bad. Oh, she's doing horrible things. Oh, she's the bad guy. Oh, okay. She's the bad guy. Like I'm prepping this series going, wow, I'm doing a suspense told from the antagonist's point of view.
Can you tell us what the name of that book is?
The Influencer. This one has been announced. I haven't recorded it yet, but it's up for pre-order and it's called...
That sounds amazing.
I'm just like, it's a trilogy. The Influencer... I can't remember.
That's
the
like right
name.
up my alley of things that I like to read.
And she's like, and she is an influencer, like on Instagram, but she's not a good person. I mean,
I love that.
Yeah. Anytime there's an animal around, I'm like, get away from her. Do you know? Like, she's not responsible. Yo, it's by Adrian Lee. It's the Influencer series by Adrian Lee. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's fun. So it's really fun. I would actually love to do like middle grade or more YA.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, yeah, because it's fun. It's if you just do one thing over and over again, you get kind of bored and it's stale. So I think it's important to have like to tell all kinds of stories. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. What is the hardest thing you find being an audiobook narrator? Like, what's the biggest challenge for you?
For me, it's finding time to prep the books. I always prep them, but I like to immerse myself in the world of the book. So if I'm recording a story, I want to stay in that world. I don't want to like record during the day and then prep another story at night. Or I don't want to split my focus between two worlds. And so what I've been trying to do is have days where I record and then days where I prep. So that at least for those days, I can just do intensive prep. I can read them, I can annotate them, I can take notes, I can write down my impressions of casting, thoughts on voices, and just impressions, and just stay in that world. Otherwise, it feels a little bit like doing book reports. Well, I did these chapters today. Let me summarize them and see what characters are speaking in them, and let me just take notes on characters. But I don't feel like I'm in the world of the story. Like, I've always been someone who reads books, and I love getting lost in a story. And I want to get lost in the story. I want to experience it as a reader before I I don't want it to feel like a chore, like it's work. I want to go on the journey
and enjoy it. Yeah.
and enjoy it. So for me, that's the most challenging thing is I keep saying yes and yes and yes to books. They keep offering me books, and so I just look at this growing list, like my TBR, and I know I have to record these books, but I also have to prep these books, and it's like that's the balance. Just because I selfishly want to go on the reader's journey and immerse myself in the world.
Would you say it's a TBR with an asterisk because it's the to be recorded?
Yeah, well, it's a TBR and a TBR plus. It's like to be read and to
right.
be, or TBP, to be prepped and
right.
to be recorded. Yeah, because
Gotcha.
I do read them twice. Once is to read them and take notes, and especially if it's a dual narration, who do we share, and being on the same page about their vibes.
Is that
hard
to do?
What
like dual? Is like dual?
I do a lot of dual narration,
is
especially
it hard?
romance. What's hard about it is you have to be on the same page or someone's going to have a lot of pickups. It could be me, it could be him or her, depending on, but yeah, the co-narrators have to be in sync. Even names that you think are obvious to you might not be obvious to them. Like maybe the name, it's spelled Anna, and you're like, that's Anna, but maybe the author says that's Anna, or the co-narrator says Anna. Like you say,
especially with the accents.
And especially the accents, like, or you say Aunt May, and the other person says Aunt May. Well, she can't. If my character Cassie can't refer to her as Aunt May and Aunt May, and he, my co-narrator is playing me, and like we're sharing all these characters, so we have to be on the same page. So that is tricky, and there's a lot of prep involved and communication. And then once you do the prep and the communication, then you can be like, okay, phew, I think we've seen all the words that could be potential pitfalls, and we're on the same page. We know what characters we share, and we agree what accents we're doing and what vibe we're giving them. Because I don't have male vocal cords, and so I'm not going to match the pitch exactly, but placement, pace, vibe, we can be on the same page,
Yeah.
So
I appreciate you making a Spider-Man reference there with Aunt May.
Exactly. But yeah, just things you have to look out for that you never thought of before.
That's true.
But yeah, the dual narrations are the most tricky in terms of pickups. Pickups are what you have to do after you record the book, obviously.
Yeah. I have to edit. I have to go through and make a list of pickups for the third book still.
So you're reviewing
Michael, it. Yeah, don't tell Michael I'm still working on it.
Is that hard?
Right now, no.
Because you're reading along and listening at the same time?
Yeah.
Do you find it's hard to not critique yourself in the moment? Like I've heard some authors say it's tricky, that they'll want to rewrite certain sections because like, I didn't realize I used this word so much. Now that I'm hearing it.
I've done that. Yeah, when Izzy was doing Dino Rift, I had to do that.
I've actually gone in and I was like, this is totally my error. Can we change these 4 words because they cannot be that close together? And the cool thing about being an indie is I can go in and edit my own book and republish it. I don't have to worry about a publisher. So that's been nice. And Michael's been very like I am so sorry. Can we fix this? And so, yeah, it's fine. Like
my engineer charges me extra when it's a change to the manuscript, but when it's like a misread or like when the author picks up on things, so that's the only thing is sometimes I feel bad about that, and then I'm like, well, I'll try to engineer it myself so you don't have to pay my engineer like for those fixes. I'll do those fixes myself. Right. Just don't tell my engineer about them.
Yeah, I don't think Michael has. I think he does it all himself.
Sure okay.
Yeah, so it's easy for us to kind of bounce back and forth. But I listened to it the first time I listened to it. I don't critique it or anything. I literally just listen to it to enjoy it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
you
then
do 2 listens?
I do like 3 or 4. I listen to it just to enjoy it. And then I go back with my like manuscript and I'll make notes. And then I put it
like
in,
misreads and things like that.
Yeah. And then I'll send it to him and then he'll send it back. And then I listen again to make sure. And then I just listen to it again because I love it. I've listened to my own audiobooks like 17 times. Like, I love them.
I feel bad now. I've only listened to Dino Rift like twice through.
Slacker.
Say most, I don't know, not most. Well, It depends also like on the length of your book, but I've only had authors ever listen like once or twice, and I think ACX says you can only do 2 rounds of revisions. I think, not that I would ever say no to a third, but yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I do. I also listen to it like when I'm prepping for the next book. I re-listen to the series so I can be fresh in the head of what I'm going to write for the next
That's
book.
a
I
great
listen to
idea.
Michael's voice like nonstop. Like
I love it.
and I reread my own books because I enjoy them. I wrote them because I love the world. So when I am like when I'm in a spot where like my books are my comfort read. So when I hear authors are like, I never want to look at that book again, I'm like, why the fuck did you create it?
Yeah, why did you write it?
Why did you write it? I want to live in my world. That's why I wrote it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I've had this one narrator, Trinity Dunn. Oh, sorry, this one author, Trinity Dunn. Her books are hefty, like 20 hours long. Each
Wow.
book is 20 hours long. Her last book was almost 25 hours long. And she was so enamored with my character voices, and it's a time travel romance. It's wild. I loved it. She started writing like this character puts on this accent to talk to this person. And like she started doing that just to mess with me. And it was so much fun. Like I had to have a character with like a Spanish accent who had to pretend to be Austrian while she was speaking to a Scottish couple.
I remember hearing you on live doing that.
My brain started to break because like Maria, she talked like this, but she had to do an Austrian accent. And so I was like, Austrian, right? So Austrian accent is like this, and Maria in an Austrian accent. And I was like, how do I? Yeah. And then like the Scottish couple was like very proper, and they were just, she was just asking her all these questions, and she was answering with, yeah, it was just really funny. Or this guy with an Appalachian accent had to put on a posh British accent that she said he did badly. I'm like, how do I do this character who has an Appalachian accent, but he's putting on a bad British accent, and everybody needs to know who it is still.
Have either of you ever heard of Sarah Sampino?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Have you seen, so she has, I believe it's still pinned to the top of her TikTok, but there's a character in a book that she did, and its name is Slimin. And it's basically an alien made of slime. And all its dialogue is it going, and she's putting like oomph into it, and it's hilarious to watch it.
That's amazing. But
it's so good.
We kind of live for stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of fun. One of the hardest ones I ever did was early on in my career. It was a very spicy military. No, it was like a military alien romance. It was like military romance, but there were aliens involved. So kind of like a military sci-fi romance. Her husband turns into an alien and then doesn't have a human voice box, so he has to get what is it? What are those called? Like the voice boxes that people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Gosh. And they can only speak when they hold the thing there, and it's very monotone. There's a word for it. Anyway, he spoke that through that.
Okay.
And they had some romantic scenes. And they were like romantic. And they said like his voice was breathy, but his voice wasn't breathy because he had the voice box thing, so your voice can't be breathy. So having to do a romantic like love scene when your husband's an alien and has a
That's hilarious.
Electronic voice box. I was giggling. I was like,
I believe it.
It was really hard.
How many takes did you do?
Oh my God. It was, and keeping your voice like this. I mean, it was like.
Right.
Sorry.
Hey, baby.
Exactly. I'll never forget doing that. That was early on in my career. That's one of my early ones. Oh my gosh. But man, good memories. That was funny. Oh yeah. The things we get paid to do.
Right. Well, you said it earlier that you've enjoyed your journey. We've definitely had a great journey for this episode. I don't know, Libby, do you have more time or?
No, my daughter's currently like.
Shoot. Okay.
Yeah. This has been fantastic. I wish I had more time. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This is really fun.
We'll have you back.
We will.
And I didn't even mention Amelia Hugh is my pseudonym that most of my books are under.
Okay.
I've got 8 under my own name, but most of them are under my romance and fantasy pseudonym, not because all of them are spicy, but because that's just kind of how I set it up. A romantasy fantasy pseudonym, but always read the blurb and the comments to find out how spicy or not spicy it is.
Yes.
which is the case for all books. But yeah, I forgot to mention that. But yeah, but this
That's
is
awesome.
So
fun.
you're on TikTok. Is there anywhere else besides TikTok and your website that people can find you, that you're active?
Yeah, so amyhutchins.com, and TikTok is my handle is at Amy Hutchins Actor on
Okay.
all of my platforms. So on Instagram at Amy Hutchins Actor, TikTok at Amy Hutchins Actor, LinkedIn, Facebook at Amy Hutchins Actor. It's really easy to remember.
You started uploading to YouTube too, didn't you?
I did, and I started live streaming on YouTube. However, nobody was watching.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like 2 people. And so it was kind of like, is it worth having a moderator and having a presence there if only, 2 people are watching? But yeah, and I do have a newsletter, so I'm not always granted permission to live stream on TikTok. But when I am, I send out an email and I go, hey guys, I'm going live with a sci-fi, or I'm going live with a romantasy tomorrow night on TikTok for the rest of the week. Yeah. So I sometimes am granted permission, sometimes not. But I always announce it somewhere. Instagram, I announce it on, I announce it on my socials when I'm going to
You
go
can
live.
go live
when I've
on
been granted
Discord too,
permission.
can't you?
I can go live on Discord, but I haven't yet.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just a lot. It's a lot
It
of
is a
different
lot.
streaming
Yeah.
devices. So
There's so much going on.
That's
yeah.
true.
But
Stick with what works for you, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until it goes away again. When TikTok goes away, I'll pivot again.
Right.
But yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We will see you next time on the Novel Network.